So we'll give it a minute and see if anybody hops in here. But the aftermath of Trent Grisham's decision to accept the qualifying offer last night has a lot of folks up in arms, right? A lot of folks up in arms. I must admit, I was surprised too, because I was really hoping that Spencer Jones was going to get the opportunity to take over the reins in center field. But just like I say about Jason Dominguez, Spencer Jones also has to win the spot over, right? He's got to beat out players. That just has to happen. It's only fair. But so he's coming back for 1 year, $22 million. How does that affect the Yankees spending the rest of the way? That's the $1 million question, right? There's so many people think that it's destroying everything. A lot of folks think it's end of the world type stuff. And I understand people can be frustrated. I get it. I wanted to get, I'm going to give you my 2 cents. And it leads me to some questions. I mean, I wanted to take the night to kind of digest what happened and think about it, and instead of just overreacting on other people's talking points, which so many other people are doing, which is fine too. I just choose not to do it. Okay. But does it alter their offseason plan? And we've talked about this too. The prevailing kind of, I guess, sentiment is that Cody Bellinger's probably going to get maybe 6 or 7 year deal, probably 6, let's just say. And Scott Boras is looking at $30 million plus. Now, the prevailing sentiment was that even with Cody Bellinger back in tow, it would still leave room for them to go after Tatsuya Imai and Kazuma Okamoto, both of which were officially posted this morning at 8 a.m. Their negotiating window is officially open now for the next 45 days until January 2nd at, I think it's 5 p.m. So Cody Bellinger wouldn't really not have interfered with their ability to get either one or both of them if they can get both of them. Now, based on that logic, just using math, neither is Trent Grisham. Jonathan, what's happening, man? Trent Grisham's not going to interfere with that either, right? And he doesn't tie up the Yankees beyond this year. So, and I know folks want him to be traded, but there's a rule he can't be traded until June 15th at the earliest. And at that point, if he's playing well, what's the point, right? Could it, one of the questions I have is, does it or could it essentially save the Yankees from a bad back end of a Cody Bellinger contract? Let's just say you're paying $30 million plus for 6 years. In the last three years of that could look ugly, right? And just like the folks that really want us to give, Kyle Tucker here, and we already know for a fact he's not going to be, getting less than probably 10 years. So are the same people going to complain about the back end of Kyle Tucker's contract? Okay, that would preclude them from doing things later on as well. Trent Grisham does none of that, right? He's here for 1 year. He was a solid defender this past year. And the fact of the matter is, the offense wasn't the biggest problem here with the Yankees. It was one of their biggest strengths. They led in almost every offensive categories, and he led in many of the categories. Okay, Aaron Judge wasn't leading. Trent Grisham was leading, right? So why do you prefer Tucker over Bellinger, Marvin? Okay. Why? And again, back to it. Does he save the Yankees from a disastrous decision on long-term contract? I don't know. Well, still remains to be seen. Does he come close to duplicating what he did last year? I don't know. Last year was his first time as a starter, first year as a starter with the Yankees. Before he was a kind of a reserve player. So that's the other question. He had a hamstring injury, which kind of made him look a little bit off kilter last year, or not even able to get to the ball as much. But at no point did I worry about his defense, right? Now, it doesn't mean no Tucker or Bellinger, but again, it poses other questions, right? Like, I would have been fine with Bellinger and Jones, or Tucker and Jones. Now, is it going to be Grisham and Jones? I don't know. Now, does this increase the chances of Jones or Dominguez getting moved? Probably. Good morning to the chat, by the way. That's all he is. More pop? We need more than pop. And one more pop. Cody Bellinger had more home runs than Tucker did. So what do you mean by pop? Who told you they're not going to go beyond 300, CWA? Who told you that? And how did he mess up other moves, CWA? Just out of curiosity. And how do you know this? Hal told you that? Hal told you directly? CWA?
Huh?
He told you that directly? That's what Joel Sherman said last year, too, that Hal wanted a lower payroll. And the year before, they didn't lower payroll. And show me where he said it. Not where someone said that he said it. Show me where Hal said it. Please. I invite you to bring it here. I'd be more than happy to listen to it. Right? Yeah, we don't know yet what the spending parameters are here. And that's why, it's a good idea to kind of lay out the ideas, okay, and kind of triage this, right? There's so many folks running around with their hair on fire thinking, oh, this destroys everything. I don't understand how. I think it does make apparent a couple things, that Okamoto and Amai are that much more necessary and that much more sensible as options for the Yankees, and they can get both of them. Bellinger would have made it possible for them. Grisham's going to make it even easier if they can get them, right? Okay. That's the qualifying offer, CWA. He put forth 34 home runs last year, and he was one of the most clutch hitters. Okay. People want to pay Cody Bellinger $30 million, Tucker $40 million. Neither one of them put forth the stats that Trent Grisham did. So before we go, Grisham at $22 million. Oh my God. Neither one of those guys were close to Grisham's stats. Yet they're going to make a ton more than Grisham. That's going to make it 1 year. Right? We don't know that he's not going to repeat the season. We don't know that. That's the assumption. That's the talking point yesterday by so many people on Twitter, the armchair GMs, right? Bellinger, I think, has always been more likely than Tucker, Jonathan, I think. I mean, they could shock us. I don't know what they're going to do, right? We don't. None of us do. How is Tucker a more long-term option than Bellinger? Please, I want to learn from you. I don't think I think it's more likely that Jason Dominguez gets moved too. Yeah, probably. Bellinger will probably get that much in $35 million. That would, yeah. Yankees won't go beyond what for Bellinger? Why should they go beyond that? He's 18 months younger, Marvin, than Bellinger is. But people would still complain on the back end of Tucker. People begging for him now will be the ones that are complaining about the back end of his contract later. The Mets can overpay for Bellinger. Let them. Go right ahead. They overpaid for Juan Soto last year. Didn't get into the playoffs. Right? And just that's another point I want to point out. People complaining about the spending here. Grisham makes it hard for them to spend. Look what the talking point was last offseason. When we reported it live at the winter meetings that the Mets signed Juan Soto, we were being trolled mercilessly. Yankees going to be a fourth-place team. The Mets are going to rule the city. Neither one of those things happened. Okay. No, they're not going to try a low ball. That's your opinion. I don't know if it's based on someone else's talking points, but they know they're not going to low. We know they're not going to lowball Bellinger. But $35 million a year for 6 years is a lot. Okay. Well, exactly, Judge. Exactly, Marvin. Exactly. It's around 260, Kendrick. It's not 280. It's 260. If we factor in the arbitration raises, then it's around 280. But then this also probably increases the chance of more non-tenders on Friday, potentially even Clark Schmidt, who would clear up about $5 million to make it available to address bullpen, right? No, it doesn't really kill other free agent signings, CWA. Tucker would kill free agent signings. Okay. The Yankee, you talking about Yankee fans are upset. They don't need to go beyond 330. Okay. Again, it does nothing to stop the moves. So let Bellinger get 30, 35. What if they get somebody that's a better fit than Bellinger? We don't know yet. That's the assumption. So Grisham's here for 1 year. Okay. If they're willing to absorb a 1 year elevated payroll for a lot of relief next year, right? We just don't know yet. So I don't see the point in getting our panties up in a wad already, which when we don't know what's going to happen yet. I mean, like yesterday I didn't think Adolis Garcia and Jonah Heim were going to get put on the market, and the Rangers expect to trade them by Friday, right? Because they wanted to trade them so that they can get some value back instead of just non-tendering them, but they moved them for nothing, right? Let the Dodgers. I don't care what the Dodgers do. CWA. I don't care. Okay, that doesn't guarantee three-peat either. So I really don't care what the Dodgers do. Focus on what's the next move for the Yankees. And from a financial standpoint, let's just say it's Grisham. Let's just arbitrarily say they trade for Adolis Garcia. He's got 1 year left on his deal. Clutch right-handed hit in the right-handed hitter in the playoffs. Got a good arm, good defender. And let's just say they play him in left field. And they also get Okamoto, who can play kind of all over the field. Another right-handed bat, contact bat. He'll be here for whatever, 5 years, let's just say. Then they just added 2 right-handed bats on top of Grisham. Okay. Well, that's your opinion, CW. That doesn't spend house money wisely. That's the talking point from so many other people who beg for the shiny piece all the time. None of these folks would survive as the GM of a baseball team. None of these folks. But that's the talking point that he doesn't spend. That doesn't mean he doesn't make some bad trades on occasion, bad signings. Every GM does. Look at the Mets. They got hosed by Scott Boras for Frankie Montas. $34 million they paid him. It's not even, they released him yesterday. They're going to pay him $17 million a year. Okay. Dodgers are run by a hedge fund, CWE. It's completely different. They leverage debt for the next decade. That's why they can defer $1 billion in contracts. They're going to be paying all this money when these guys are not playing in the next decade. They're going to have problems next decade. So they can ride the gravy train right now. You can ride the Dodgers jockstrap all you want. That's why they can go big fish. When you have a $400 billion hedge fund, you have unlimited resources. Yeah, you can do that. And you don't have to worry. You can just get every play you want. If certain ones don't work out, okay, we'll pawn that off later on. That's what venture capital is. That's what private equity does, CWA. They're the only team in baseball that does it. The only team. So people can ride their jockstraps all they want. I don't care. Fact is, the Yankees are worth more than the Dodgers, even though they're owned by a hedge fund. Right? Of course you have zero confidence. And that's you, man. And you're entitled to feel that way. Okay, but back to the here. I mean, Okamoto and Amai, if the Yankees got both of them, which they could, that would probably make fans feel a heck of a lot better, right? And Bellinger was not going to stop their ability to get Okamoto or Amai or both. So Grisham's not going to. Tucker would have. So, and again, like I said, people have been pounding, Grisham yesterday for his defense and using all these fancy metrics, because one person on Twitter used this, other people going for it, completely ignoring that he had a hamstring injury, which slowed him down, which extrapolated what the stats all are. Defensive run save negative and blah, blah, blah. His ability to get to the ball. That's what happens when you have a hamstring injury. It's the back end of your leg. Those one of your push-off muscles that limits your ability to accelerate when you have a hamstring injury. Okay, at no point did I worry about his defense, about him making errors. Stephen B, what's going on? Right? So, but I do think this increases the chance of more non-tenders, even potentially a Clark Schmidt. They could non-tender him, or let's just say they have arbitrarily they make a trade for Adolis Garcia and even Jonah Heim, right, who's also available to back up Austin Wells, which makes it easier for them to shop or to trade JC Escara if they wanted to do that for either for a reliever or international money or whatever. He's got 5 years of control left, or 6 years of control left. That would be value for a team. Okay, so again, we're talking. Yeah, well, at least I am thinking about the different solutions. Right, what's next? Yeah, exactly. Last year we did panic. Well, some people did, Kendrick. Yeah, but yeah, exactly. We ended up with the best offense. And we went to the playoffs and the Mets did not. Remember the overwhelming panic that people were running around? It was the end of the world when Soto left. Right? Exactly. Grisham is 29. And again, last year was his first year as a starter with the Yankees. And look what he did. The year before that, he was not a starter. So even if we got whatever, 20-something home runs from him next year and good defense, I'm fine with that too. Home runs aren't the only metric that matter. So, and again, the fact that they were willing to offer him a qualifying offer, not knowing whether he was going to take it or accept it, leads me to believe that the Yankees are willing to spend more than people think they're going to spend this offseason. And Brian Cashman's already said that it's not going to interfere with their ability to pursue Cody Bellinger, right? Knowing that he's going to cost a lot of money. So they could bring in Bellinger back and run the same outfield next year, which is an elite outfield. Part of the best offense, one of the best offenses in baseball. People seem to be forgetting that, right? So these are some things that I encourage folks to consider. And again, the Yankees, people say, there's so many people on Twitter saying, well, Cashman thinks he's smarter than, everybody. Well, he's definitely smarter than the fair weather fans and the armchair GMs. The Yankees don't use baseball savant to do business, okay, or baseball trade values. None of that stuff with these arbitrary figures, okay? They don't do that stuff. Okay, there's a reason why Cashman doesn't leak, right? There's a reason why. Because then you have people that just run with it, turn it into their own thing. So, and the majority of time is not true, or they're leaving out half the story, right? So, what's next, gang? This is the aftermath. What's next? Cashman confirmed yesterday, too, that's not going to interfere with their ability to pursue Bellinger. So if they're going to pay Bellinger in left field, they're going to that money's already going to be allocated. The 20 million people that think that they're not going to spend, is going to be spent, right? And they still have to address bullpen and probably add a starting pitcher as well. So I do think there is a good possibility Okamoto and Amai get signed. Okay, and again, doesn't matter what Trent Grisham did yesterday, or Tucker or Bellinger. Do any of those guys solve bullpen problems or starting pitching problems? What imploded in the playoffs? The pitching, right? Yeah. Well, we're going to see more trades. Exactly, Stephen B. Right now. And last night the Orioles acquired Taylor Ward from the Angels for Grayson Rodriguez, a nice little trade for both teams. Address needs for both sides, but again, the whole point of the non-tender deadline too, it's going to give teams more clarity, and we'll figure out who gets non-tendered. They might become free agents, and it might change a team's free agent blueprint for the offseason, how they're going to attack the offseason. Because now these guys are available. They wouldn't have been available before. So there's also no guarantee that the Rangers can get a trade for Adolis Garcia or Jonah Heim. They could just non-tender them both, right? Not pay them. And then whatever they get from another team is what they get from another team. Those guys are still arbitration players. So, and that's why I expect more non-tenders for the Yankees now with this decision. And they did put 3 guys, Chase Hampton, Elmer Rodriguez, and Spencer Jones on the 40-man yesterday to protect them from the Rule 5. We did send Boston packing. Yeah, we got trolled mercilessly by Boston people, right? Whatever. Don't care. We're in their heads. But again, people like, oh, let's get Tucker and Demai. Okay. People want that, right? Fine, that's fine. But if Tucker's not going to interfere with their ability to add Demai, how in the world is Grisham going to do that? He's going to cost half the price of Tucker. How does he do that? So these are just questions that I have for folks. I really do. Amai still makes as much sense as he did yesterday. But again, so does Okamoto. And Adolis Garcia, let's just say arbitrarily, they bring him in. He plays left field, right? He's only here for a year in arbitration. Then he's a free agent, so you get that relief next year as well. It's not going to cost as much as any of these guys. It also makes it easier for them if they want to, have Spencer Jones at 4th outfield to ease him in. They could do that too, right? So it gives them options. And Spencer Jones can also play multiple infield positions, a natural center fielder, but they tend to be the most athletic of all the outfielders. He can play right, he can play left as well. And he's known as a plus defender if they go down that route. So, again, I understand certain people are panicking, certain people are pissed, certain people are running around their hair on fire. Blame me. I asked these questions this morning. People telling me I'm making excuses and full of crap and blah, blah. Just asking questions. I don't know how that's an excuse. But again, what's the next move for the Yankees? Obviously the logical move is to bring back Ryan Yarbrough. Yes. I'm not surprised that, that Trent Grisham took the qualifying offer. Now that I think about it, bet on himself, right? And his salary is going to be 4 times what it was before, which is still going to be a heck of a lot less than Bellinger's going to get, heck of a lot less than Tucker is going to get. So for people complaining about spending, but that want the more expensive pieces, please explain that one. Please explain that logic to me. I definitely want to have a better understanding of that logic. Right? It happens, Sean. It's all look. It does get. That doesn't mean I'm not frustrated at times too. But again, I like to think of solutions instead of dwelling on problems. Right? And Trent Grisham coming back, that's not really a problem for a year. Right? They were prepared. They wouldn't have offered it to him if they weren't prepared for him to accept it or not. Exactly. And that doesn't affect their spending either. And if you get that production again for 1 year at that price, right? Look at the comments I got before. Seeing this guy, Bellinger, the money for Bellinger. And Grisham outperformed Bellinger and Tucker last year at a fraction of the price. No. And Judge, yes, Judge didn't want him back. And he did have an hamstring injury, which has affected his ability to get to the ball, not field the ball. Right? This is why I encourage folks to just, to breathe, be logical here. Okay? It doesn't mean we can't be frustrated. It doesn't mean at all that we can't be frustrated. Dude, if Grisham hit 25 home runs with a good amount of RBIs and some good defense in center field. Like of the 34 home runs, I think 25 of them either tied the game or gave the Yankees the lead. But aside from Aaron Judge, he was the most clutch bat the Yankees had. Right? Yarborough, yeah. So they have some protection in the bullpen and the rotation. But if they get Imai, then that's going to be Hayden. People are saying Joel Sherman said that. But Joel Sherman doesn't work for the Yankees. According to Mark Feinsand, the Yankees are the clear favorites to sign back. If they sign Cody Bellinger, then how are people going to feel then? Let's see, they get both. Right? I think, I know they're shopping Dominguez. Okay? Real Bill. What's going on, Real Bill? But that's that's also the convenient scapegoat, right? Blame Cashman. Like people begging them to sign Kyle Tucker, sign him whatever. Will be the same people complaining on the back end of Tucker's contract, blaming Brian Cashman. Oh, you signed this guy to a contract that I begged you to sign, right? None of them take any ownership of that. It's just let's go right to the scapegoat. Blame Cashman or blame Boone. It's the same thing all the time. It's the same thing all the time. Yeah. Well, yes, yeah. Clutch. I mean, he can't hit good pitching, and they use his playoff performance. Nobody hit well in the playoffs for the Yankees except for Aaron Judge. We got some decent production here from Ryan McMahon, who people accuse of not being able. He was one of the guys who hit home runs in the postseason. Ryan McMahon. Anthony Volpe hit one too. So the guys that fans are trashing were the only guys that hit in the postseason with Judge. So Stanton didn't hit. Bellinger didn't hit. Right? Grisham didn't hit. It happened. I would do the other, Jeffrey, but I understand your take. But I wouldn't worry about. Personally, I'm not worried about Jones's K rate because his production rate is way higher than Dominguez's, and he's far superior defensively in the outfield too. But I understand the arguments about K rate and all that stuff. I get it. No, exactly, Thomas. Maybe he just wanted to be the Yankee. Yeah. He liked it here. They were good to him. They loved him. So why not? And that's the other thing too. I mean, there's so many people who want. I mean, look, there's an argument to be made for Tucker. There's an argument to be made for Bellinger. There's also an argument to be made for Spencer Jones and other players too. Like we don't know, but again, we know that Grisham's not going to tie him up for 10 years like Tucker would. It's not going to tie him up for 6 years like Bellinger would, right? So now we just focus on the next position. What do they do in left field? What's going to happen there? Right? And the right-handed bats, Adolis Garcia is a right-handed bat. Okamoto's right-handed bat. Right? For Hunter Green, how many years of control does he have left, Hunter Green? Next New York trade. I have a feeling we'll regret trading Jones too. I mean, but that's just me. And keep in mind, like, I don't understand why so many folks saying, "Well, Dominguez is a star in the making." At what point? And I looked up his minor league stats yesterday. At no year at any level in the minors did he put up superstar stats to match the superstar title that was bestowed upon him, and that's not his fault. Content creators did this, scouts did this, beat writers did this, right? And people run with this all over social media. At no point did he put forth superstar production, right? That's that's one of the realities that I don't think a lot of people want to face. And this isn't an "I told you so" thing. This is just the reality. Dominguez. Let's check out his hitting stats slash hitting splits, I should say. Um, I'll tell you right now. Decent Dominguez. Here we go. His splits. And versus lefties, he had 93 at bats, so not a big sample size. He batted 204 versus righties as a left-handed hitter in 288 bats, batted 274. So under 300, but better than the other side. How are they in trouble, Jake? How are they in trouble? Where's the trouble? I mean, he had almost 400 at bats this year. Dominguez is decent, but he can't field. That's one of the problems. He's way behind defensively, and that's a problem. His defense hurts more than his offense helps, if that makes sense. Right? Jones, Hill, and Stanton for Sandy Alcantara. Ooh. Can I swap Dominguez out for that? 260, not 280, Jake. 260. 280 if you factor in the arbitration raises. They're probably gonna cut another 10 million on Friday at the non-tender deadline. So Hunter Goodman. Hunter Goodman. Huh? Interesting. I gotta look him up. Zach, I gotta look him up. And again, the fact that they offered him a qualifying offer shows that they have an appetite that they know they're gonna have to spend. JXP, thanks so much for the super chat. Appreciate you. Spend like the Dodgers. They don't have to spend like the Dodgers. And again, nobody spends like the Dodgers, right? Why is that? Because the Dodgers are owned by a hedge fund. There is no other baseball team that's owned by a hedge fund. They won't be running the same team. Remember, now we're going to have Cole next year. It's not the same team already. Cole coming back. So our rotation is going to be stronger too. So it won't be the same team. But again, the offense wasn't the problem. They led in almost every offensive category. Right? That's right. Yeah, Sandy Alcantara. I would personally pass on Sandy Alcantara. Yeah, the Yankees can spend. But But again, using the Dodgers as an example is not a good idea either, because again, they're owned by a hedge fund worth $400 billion, which leverages debt. It's going to leverage it for the next decade after that. So they're factoring in the arbitration raises already. Okay. Bednar is good. He is the closer. I personally think that Weaver and Williams are gone, but we'll see. This is why we're talking about Okamoto, right? As one of the contact bats from Japan, and Imai, starting pitcher. I'm also from Japan. None of which come with qualifying offers. Just going to cost money. That's it. Reopen our relationship and our ties with Japan. If they re-sign Belly, then my guess they'll sign another infielder. Versatile position. And this is why I keep talking about Brendan Donovan. He'd be a perfect fit. He's arbitration for 2 more years too. He's a contact hitter. He could also be our leadoff hitter. Yes, they can afford these guys. And again, not every move they have to make are free agent moves. They can make trades too. Right? The shiny pieces are not always the best fits. I say this all the time. Right? Morning, Ray. What's going on? Yeah, well, we don't know. I mean, my guess is they'll make a couple unexpected trades, maybe an unexpected signing. I would watch out for Clark Schmidt as well for either a non-tender or a trade. Even though he's coming back from Tommy John, he's got 3 years of control. So I would not give up Jazz for Donovan. I would add Donovan to Jazz. Donovan can play all over the field. I would give up Dominguez for Donovan. And Hill. Sean, yesterday everybody was fired up after we found out what happened, right? People were running around their hair on fire. And all we got yesterday were complaints on Twitter and YouTube channels, right? That's all we got. No logic, right? It's overreactions on incomplete information. Clark Schmidt, look, if you can get a reliever for Clark Schmidt, that helps address the bullpen, right? Clark Schmidt to the Braves or to the Texas Rangers or whatnot. I'm like, you could, he's got 3 years left of arbitration, which makes him any arbitration player is a non-tender candidate. Lombard, no, he's not. He doesn't need to be on a 40-man just yet, Ray. He's not Rule 5 eligible yet. They included Spencer Jones, Chase Hampton, and Elmer Rodriguez. They included 3 guys yesterday onto the 40-man. Schmidt could also be part of a Donovan trade. Yes, he can, Jonathan. The Cardinals are looking for pitching. How did they handcuff themselves? They're bringing back a center fielder who outperformed Cody Bellinger and Kyle Tucker. And then bringing him back on a 1-year deal instead of a 10-year deal. It doesn't, and it's not going to interfere with addressing left field. So, just elaborate for me, please, Jake. I want to understand better. I don't understand everything. That's why I think Schmidt it's probably tradable. With 3 years of control as a young pitcher, very tradable. You could you get Donovan for only pitchers? I don't know. Grisham could be traded at the deadline, yes. If he plays well and a team thinks they want to add another batter, he could. He could. He could very well be traded by the deadline. And he's got 1 year left on his deal. It's not like he's going to be traded with 4 years left on his deal. He doesn't tie any team up that would acquire him. Right? AJ, what's going on, brother? Appreciate you, man. Just trying to get everybody, get everybody's pulse on what happened last night. Right? And I just ask people, like, why do folks, listen to certain folks who don't bring anything constructive to the comment, just out of curiosity? Detroit likes our pitching depth. Yeah, I saw that. I don't know what specifically. Did they say specifically who they like? Because I would not move Cam Schlittler for Tarek Skubal. He doesn't need to have the same season. Well, who says he's not the priority? Remember, Bellinger's also a Scott Boras client. So Scott Boras is going to drag this out. There was a timeline for qualifying offers, right? And just like there's a timeline for the Japanese posting system. Like Amaya and Okamoto got their negotiating window open this morning at 8 o'clock. Their 45 days ends January 2nd, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Yep, Everson Pereira traded to the White Sox. Yankees prospects traded for each other yesterday. And again, we don't need Grisham to have the same type of season. We get good defense and good production out of him. I'm okay with that. All right. I think Selvage has trade value. I think Henry Lalani has trade value. Yankees will be wise to try to trade some of these guys before the Rule 5 draft, or they're going to get scooped up for nothing. Right? So that's another thing I'll be looking out for. Friday's deadline and the Rule 5 draft. How many of those guys that they didn't add to the 40-man can they trade before the Rule 5? And maybe some of these guys, they get packaged to a team for a relief pitcher with controllable years. Or trade some of them for international money. Right? Daddy Hacks. Nice, Joe. Keep me updated, Daddy Hacks. Good job, man. They like Hill. You can have Hill and Will Warren for Tarek Skubal. Elmer Rodriguez, we're keeping. And you can have Hill and Warren, both of them. 2 starters with controllable years for on the cheap for Skubal. So LaGrange has another big arm. Warren's got 4 years of control. I think Hill has 4 years of control too. 3 or 4. That's a lot of years of control on the cheap in exchange for Tarek Skubal. I'll even give you, you can have either one of Ben Hess or Bryce Cunningham too. Mm-hmm. And that, Skubal's an upgrade over Will Warren. He's an upgrade over Luis Hill. Right? Brendan Donovan, man. Pitchers, maybe Jojo Romero, relief pitcher. I don't know. But these present themselves as options now. Like if they're not going to go the spending route, then there's players with controllable years that they can trade for. It really depends on what's going to be the best option to address these positions moving forward. Don't know. Right? What's the best option? Like Brendan Donovan, he doesn't have to have the flashy stats. He would make this team better. Okay? And if he doesn't, I'll get pounded for it, but I'll own that, man. It's all good. Winter meetings are December 8th to the 10th, I think, or 8th to the 11th. So about 4 weeks away. Yep. About 4 weeks away. So again, going back to the topic here, when I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. It's a good question. I'm not sure that they'll move another bat with Donovan. That I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't work for the Cardinals, so right after Trent and factoring in arbitration, it sounds about 280. So let's just say they got Imai and Okamoto for $30 million. That takes them to 310. Then they non-tender about $10 million worth, takes them back down to 300, and then they address the bullpen. Right? Takes them back up to 310 or so. Okay. Somebody brought up, was it Joey Bart yesterday, catcher from the Giants? And Jonah Heim's available too. So we'll see. Yeah, be aggressive, but I mean, they're not going to trade Rodon. It's not going to happen. Why would they trade Rodon? They're going to trade Warren or Hill. Warren, I mean, Rodon has the second most wins in baseball from a starting pitcher over the last, I don't know, couple of years. And the only guy ahead of him is it Tarek Skubal, I think? It might be Skubal. I would trade Hill in a heartbeat. I would trade Warren in a heartbeat. I mean, Skubal would be nuts. Because you're going to have to give him a monster extension after this year if you can get him. You can get him. You get him now. You get him on a 5-year deal or something like that. Then you're good for 5 years. Yeah, they're not going to trade Rodon. It doesn't make any sense. Oh, Fried. Okay, so Fried, not Skubal. So second most wins in baseball since that period were Rodon. So now we have both of the guys with the most wins on the same team. So, Fried, yeah, I'm not really interested in Freddie Peralta. Even though Brandon Woodruff is accepting the QI yesterday, probably increases the chance they trade Peralta and try to get something back for him. And I got Jacob Mizraski. They have other guys there. And if Peralta only has 1 year left, you might as well capitalize on it and get something. But we'll see if they do that. See, it's nice when we have kind of a logical chat here. Right? Curving cat could be. I know they're shopping Dominguez. I know they're shopping JC Escara. Whether they get moved or not, I don't know. The prevailing, last night, well, they clearly don't believe in Spencer Jones. Well, not necessarily. You just want to give him more time. Or they want to ease him in or whatnot. But we just don't know yet. We don't know. What if they re-signed Bellinger, moved him to first base, moved Ben Rice behind addition, and traded Austin Wells? You still have an outfielder need to get. I would go Okamoto and Imai. You could probably get Okamoto and Imai for the price of Belly by himself, or close to it. That's what I would do, and then I would trade for another outfielder. Don't know, John. That's what we're waiting for. But the signing, like the big signings, aren't going to happen until next week, and starting next week, because we still have the non-tender deadline. We just don't know what players are going to be available from other teams yet, in terms of non-tenders. That's one thing we'll find out soon on Friday. So it's going to be a lot more information coming out. So last night, yeah, and some people were stung by that. I totally get it. But I invite folks to just have perspective. Yeah, if you got both Japanese players, You move Dominguez for an arm, then you're in a good spot, right? Well, Rice needs more reps at catcher. I think Wells is fine. I'm fine if Rice at first, Wells behind the dish. I'm fine with that. Yeah. Imagine that, Adrian. I don't think they'd ever sign me. But I think getting a good backup catcher to Wells. I like GC Scar, but Adley Rushman's an upgrade. Jonah Heim's an upgrade. Danny Jansen's an upgrade. So, right? Exactly. Exactly, Ken. Season's over with. Grisham screwed up fire. Not Kenley, Danny Jansen, catcher, John. But Kenley Jansen's, I mean, he's older. I think they're going to go in a different direction for the bullpen. Man, please sign Okamoto. Please sign Okamoto. He just looks like a fit here. So does Amai. Looks like they both look like fits here. They really, really do. And Danny Jansen would be. I think he's a free agent. Would be a backup catcher option who's used to playing full part time. And I still think they're going to add 2 relievers, and then another guy or 2 will win a job out of spring training. One of the spring training invites. That's where we're at. I got a conference call to get on in a few minutes. That's what I'm hearing. That was one of the talks on Twitter last night, to bring back Miguel Andujar, that he's a good fit here, right-handed bat who hits lefties well. Let's pull up Miguel Andujar's stats here. We know he can hit. That I know. Man, that was never a problem. He just couldn't field. Let's see. Miguel Andujar splits at least 2025. It is. They're not going to go under 300 million. So Andujar hits lefties 389. Okay. Righties 290. So he's pretty decent against either side. He batted 318 this year. 10 homers, 44 ribbies. OPS of 822. Maybe they will revisit that. Is he a free agent? Is he with the Reds? I appreciate the super chat, JXV. Scott Boras had his crony writers. Fair one, Soto, Kyle Tucker, now coming. Yeah. Yeah. That's what he does. But I said last year that Juan Soto was going to match or exceed Shohei Ohtani's contract. The people thought I was on drugs. People thought I was crazy. What happened? He exceeded it by almost $100 million. That's what Scott Boras does. He waited for his opportunity to get the generational player at the prime year, 25, and he, positioned a guy like the next Babe Ruth, the next Ted Williams, right? That's why he's the best. That's why he's the best. I'm saying. Exactly, Stephen B. Now let me see Miguel Andujar. Let's look at his contract here. Miguel Andujar's what the hell is it? So he's a free agent. Miguel Andujar's a free agent. So yeah, he's a free agent. So they can sign him for nothing. Well, from just money. Probably RC. They might do that too. Sign a multi-year after the work stoppages. So yeah, you never know. You never know. Or Ken's in full effect here. He's got the ugly truth. He's got Ken. He's doing double duty here, Ken. I love it. Love it. So maybe maybe they'll reunite with Miguel Andujar because his stats against lefties are. I didn't realize they were that good. He's a good base runner. We got a lot of good base runners too. I just wish that we used them more often. We'll see what happens. What if they sign Miguel Andujar for excuse me, a couple $1,000,000 and he hit like crazy, right? And then they, I don't know, gave Spencer Jones an opportunity, paid fourth outfielder because we know Miggy can hit. So I don't know. Well, he was blocked before, Ken. I mean, there's a clear path for Andujar now, but I don't even know who his agent is. And I also wouldn't be surprised if he was bitching about lack of play time too. But he would have. I mean, Alonso's not happening, John. He's not a fit here, Alonso. Yeah, bring back Clint Frazier. I wouldn't go for Tatis. We don't need Tatis. You can play Andujar most of the time, but Jones will get a good amount of baseball time too. He's got to again. He's got to play well in spring training, earn that spot. But Andujar, and he's a righty bat who hits the ball extremely well, right? And when last time he was here, he was playing mostly the infield. He was not good at infield, so he can play out. He can play outfield now. Yeah. I forgot about him, Miguel Andujar, I must say. I forgot about him. No. We'll see. I would be surprised if they moved on from Volpe, but you never know. He's also starting arbitration, so they can non-tender him too. They could just non-tender him and move on, and not have to pay him anything. My guess is they're going to stick with him until he recovers from his surgery and see if he can come back and produce. Has Mickey ever gotten rest? That's a good question, RC. I don't know. I know he's got reps in the outfield, but we got Ben Rice at first base too. I would probably stick to the outfield, like left field for Miguel Andujar. I like the stats against lefties. I really do. I don't know, John. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, they got Caballero here who's going to play most of the reps for Volpe. And I still think they're going to bring in probably Med Rosario or someone else to give him some infield depth. So, and if Lombard's ready, I don't know if they move on from Volpe or not. Guess we don't know. Yeah, I mean, Tatis is on a monster contract too. No, well, if you can get a Maya Okamoto, man, oof. And Okamoto, and you can still bring in Andujar too if you wanted to, or if you get a Maya and Andujar. I don't know. There's options that are available. Tatis injury prone. He's got pop for juice, and it's just I don't know if the people want that, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if the Yankees want that. He'll add 200 what? Mm-hmm. And we'll see what Jones does in spring training. Like I said, just like Dominguez, he has to earn the job outright. He's got to outplay players. If he doesn't, then he doesn't get the job. It's that simple. Right? 200K. I doubt he's going to get 200Ks right out the gate. And I'm not really worried about that. If he hits 30 home runs, would you care? I know I wouldn't. Plays elite defense in the outfield, wouldn't care. Yep. But let me let you go, gang. I got to get on a conference call. But I want to thank you for coming on and bringing your perspectives. Again, this was a calm, nice, relaxing live stream, man. I appreciate you all. Thank you for the super chats, all you as well. Bring back Tommy Canley. Now Ken's dropping the knowledge bombs. I love the knowledge bombs that people bring here. Canley, Andujar, Eugenio. So I doubt it. Doubt it. I'd stick with Rice at first base, personally. But we'll see. Severino, I'm going to pass on him. But Andujar, I'd think about. So, but peace and love, gang. You are the best. If anything else comes out today, you'll be hearing it here. Appreciate all yous. Talk to you next time.